All right, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. Our topic is going to be social engineering and information technology, and we're just going to do a quick rundown of the agenda today. First off, we're going to have Gomez defining the scope for us, and then following that, we're going to have Joseph with the process map, and then explaining how we're going to capture, register, and protect that intellectual property. Following that, we're going to have Hakeem identify the inputs and outputs, and then we're going to have Jeff describe the communication with the support team and the communication with the senior management. And then lastly, Jacob, will identify how the IT department will be vital in protecting that intellectual property. All right, and then we'll have Gomez start us off here.
All right, so for the scope, what we're trying to do is build a service to offer companies within their companies. So it's a type of service that we're going to be providing, only offered to within the US. So we're not expanding this globally. The service will provide the knowledge of social engineering within the IT field and how it may affect companies within their company, and what are some signs that employees are being attacked. And we'll also provide on how to handle that information and reporting to management. And then lastly, the process in protecting our service and the overall product that's being offered to companies. Go ahead, Joseph.
All right, thank you. So the next part of this is just mapping out how we're going to protect the intellectual property that we create. Obviously, we've already started this process where we have already announced the product idea. From there, it's developing the work group. And the sub-process of developing that work group is ensuring that we have appropriately built access controls, following the principles of least privilege to ensure that those that need access have access and those that don't do not. From there, establishing a change control process that allows for only appropriate and authorized personnel to allow for changes through the appropriate mechanisms. From there, we'll check competitors and other patents, ensuring that we aren't interfering with anything on their patents to make sure we're following everything legally there. Next is continue to determine the usefulness of that product, ensuring that this is something worth spending company time on, ensuring that as we build this, we are continually evaluating its usefulness. From there, it's building that official development, creating the plan, the actual nuts and bolts of what's happening. Within that process, we'll also be monitoring and recording changes. Again, that's going to be referencing back to that previously established change control process. From there, as changes are made, we're going to regularly train and update the team on anything that changes there. And then finally, we'll be making the choice to either patent the product, patent that service, or keep it internal, evaluating the overall usefulness of the product. And from there, establishing a breach response plan if the IP does leak in any sort of way, ensuring that we have a way of recuperating what we can in the value there. So now we need to understand how we're going to capture, register, and protect the data involved in this service. So first, we want to capture it and create a space where innovative designs can be documented, such as a shared space as SharePoint, where we can enforce the conditions like conditional access or principles of least privileges. The innovative spaces do also need to meet the two criteria, the security and the flexibility. Security is obviously first and foremost, but in order to be able to innovate appropriately, there needs to be at least a little bit of flexibility within that space. Next is registering the service, and if we're going to deliver on that national scale, it must be patented or at least submitted for copyrights if it's going to be released. A patent and copyright request would be submitted through the government site listed on screen. And finally, it's protecting it. As discussed, we'd follow the legal steps required of the patent and or copyright, depending on what's decided at the end of the creation period. And then making sure the key documentation is appropriately contained and monitored for changes and improper access. I'll hand it off to Hakeem to talk about inputs and outputs.
All right. So for the inputs and outputs, these attacks are usually of social engineering are pretty much harder to prevent than any other cyber crimes there are. They typically function within the organization's tech defense, voluntarily convincing people to release information, so to say. These attacks are normally diverse and are not all the same. So these inputs and outputs. Okay, so for the inputs, this is what an attacker uses. and obtained, which are phishing emails, physical breaches, pretext calling. As far as the phishing emails, of course, like I think we've all seen or been a part of some phishing emails. This is where an attacker would send you an email with an attachment or whatever it is, whatever the case may be, a link, and if you click that link, then your system would be compromised. As far as physical breaches, a hacker impersonates someone in order to gain access to a secure location. And pretext calling, an attacker can call or make up a scenario to obtain some information needed, and they basically put puzzle pieces together to compromise that system as well too. Outputs of these things could be breaches to sensitive data, system access, as well as financial gain, which could include theft, unauthorized entry into networks and accounts, and compromisations of passwords and financial information as well too.
Okay, moving on to communicating, how we'll communicate with the support team. So initially, we'll be meeting with support personnel, go over the entire process map. That way, everyone is on the same page, knows their responsibilities, and understands their role in each step. Next, visual will be in a shared platform. So this means uploading the process map into a Teams workspace like Google Drive that allows for reference whenever needed. Next, we'll be assigning roles and responsibilities, which means each member will be assigned specific tasks from the process map based on their role within the organization. Clear ownership will be communicated, making sure everyone stays on track. Regular check-ins and updates will occur frequently to monitor the progress, address concerns, and adjust the process as needed. These updates ensure everyone stays on track. Ongoing training and communication. Team members will be conducting training sessions throughout to keep support team informed about any changes in the process, product updates, or regulatory updates. There will be feedback loops established for continued improvements. This allows for support members to provide feedback, and any roadblocks or improvements can be sent back to the team in a more timely manner. Point of contact for questions, designated POC will be established like the process manager to answer any questions for or clarifying anything that is brought up. Okay. Now going into how informing senior management will be handled. So we understand that everybody wants their information in a different way, and everybody has different preferences. So different mediums like briefings, phone calls, emails, presentations. So we understand that, and we like to be as involved as possible with what fits your specific needs. We intend to provide updates based on where the current stages are on the process map. After this meeting, we could further discuss any update points and specific mediums that are desired after the completion of each step. With every update, additionally, there would be an associated cost analysis for what was done, what will be done, and a total running analysis. The updates will primarily be focused on the success and failures to just kind of cut out any of the extra bloated information that you don't really need to be bothered with. But we can still, at any point, if there's any like updates that you would like, we can gladly add additional checkpoints that we could just reach out and evaluate further, giving you a decision point from there on. So the next, everything will be summarized in email, just kind of like a little touch point, being like, this is what was discussed, or etc. And then that will be provided for everybody, more so for memorialization purposes. So that ensures that yourself or any other stakeholders have the most information to make informed decisions about the project. Pending any questions, I'll be followed up by Jacob.
All right, thank you, Jeff. So lastly, we're going to move on to how we're going to protect this property in the IT department. So as the IT department, we're going to need to establish strong security protocols to protect our data and stop unauthorized access. This is going to rely heavily on employee education. So what we're going to do is make sure all of our employees are up to date on certs and they receive regular cybersecurity education. In regards to employees, to make sure they're using this education, we're going to perform like fake phishing tests, send out emails quarterly, weekly, however we want to do that. Outside of employees, we're going to make sure we implement multi-factor authentication programs and then also enforce strong password requirements. We can also do, as the IT department, develop systems for threat detections and responses to deal with those threats. And then lastly, data encryption so we can maintain the confidentiality of that information, continue just to improve our security on all the data that we have. And then that's going to go ahead and conclude our presentation today. And then from the team and myself, I just want to say thank you and I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your day.